Aloha and welcome again to the Believer's Journey. We're here again and we have a short little topic today. I want to talk about the perseverance of Joseph. Before I begin, I want to thank everybody for joining me. I want to thank everyone who supports us in their prayers, in your comments, in your questions that you ask. I hope I get to everybody. I hope I don't miss anybody. Anyway, I want to also thank those who support us financially, who uh, just give me a good word and help me, feel like we're doing a good job. And so for all of those all around the world, I just want to say blessings on you. And I really pray that everybody will really continue to live in a way that Jesus wants us to be transformed into his image. Anyway, so I want to talk about the perseverance of Joseph. Now, most of you who have listened to me or know me know that I have a soft spot in my heart for Joseph. He's one of my most favorite characters in the Bible. I'm not sure if he's the favorite or not, but I truly believe Joseph was probably one of, if not the most wisest person in the Bible. And I say that because um, not because he gained great wealth or he had much people follow him like Solomon did, but because he trusted God no matter how bad a situation became, because he was faithful to him in all things. Um, Solomon said that gave us a definition for wisdom. He said wisdom is the beginning of the fear of the Lord. And Joseph seemed to have this way about him that was just he followed God. It was his God, it was his love of his life, and he did everything in his life that showed the pursuance of wanting to live for him. No matter how good or bad his situation was, he was always there for God, and God seemed to be always there for him and blessed him for it. So what I want to use, and it's not the entire chapter, but I'm going to read 6 verses or 5 verses from chapter 39. I've written that in my description. So if you read chapter 39 in Genesis, you'll get kind of the picture of where I'm at. So in chapter 39, verse 2, it says, "The Lord was with Joseph." Okay, and he was a successful man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. Now the Egyptian was Potiphar. Potiphar was I guess he had great wealth and so forth and stature within the country. And so Potiphar was the person who purchased Joseph as a slave. And then he put him in charge of different things. And as he noticed that Joseph was promising and faithful and trustworthy, he put him in charge of more and more things as Joseph continued in his servanthood, if you will, with the Egyptian, with Potiphar. And in verse 3 it goes on, it says, "And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord was made, did help him to prosper in his hand." Now, this is the important verse, and it's important. Verse 3, "And his master," okay, which is Potiphar, "saw that the Lord was with Joseph," okay, and that the Lord made all he did to prosper in his hand. So everything Joseph did, God let it prosper with him. So this is really the key issue right here, the key verse. Now let's go on. So Joseph found favor in his sight. Okay, we're talking about the sight of Potiphar, and served him. Then he made him overseer of his house, and all that he had he put under his authority. Okay, even though that Joseph was a slave, Joseph was in authority over Potiphar's house and all that he did. Now we say house, all of his business dealings and everything he had, Joseph was in charge of it. Okay. And he put Joseph in authority over this. So it was from the time that he made him overseer of his house and all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house, okay, for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was on all that he had in the house and in the field. And thus he left all that he had in Joseph's hand. And he did not know what he had except for the bread which he ate. Okay. Now the chapter goes on. It goes on into other things. For example, Potiphar's wife tries to seduce Joseph, and Joseph denounces her. Basically, says, "I will not do two things. He won't do. He will not disgrace his God, and he will not disgrace Potiphar." Okay, and I think that's really interesting. So when we come into situations where there's a decision to be made, do we question the fact that we're going to do it because we might get caught, because it seems like we might benefit, or is it because we don't want to disgrace God? And that was foremost on Joseph's mind. Now, when this came to Potiphar, when his wife went to him and said, "Hey, Joseph tried to do this," it really appears like Potiphar didn't believe his wife. But in that case, he had him arrested, and then Joseph went to jail and spent 13 years in jail. And this was after, and so forth. So he was in jail, and he had these baker and the cup holder came, and they had these dreams, and Joseph told them the answer to their dreams and so forth. And so he spent time in jail, and these people forgot about him, and he stayed there until Pharaoh had a dream, and then it was told to him that, oh, well, this guy in jail, he interprets. And so he came out, and that's when God put him in a position, or Pharaoh put him in a position that oversaw all of Egypt as a second-hand man, or first-hand man, if you will, his right-hand man. Okay? So basically, what I'm trying to say here is that we read this part that's really good. And when I talk about perseverance, is because through this, Joseph kept his faithfulness to God like this through all of his situation. Through a situation when he was put into the pit, when he was sold to Potiphar, when he was put into jail, when he came before Pharaoh. He always was faithful before God. When he was the right-hand man to Pharaoh, he kept his faithfulness to God. And I think that's really, really important that we understand that. And because of his faithfulness, God blessed him. Okay? And I think that it's important that even while he was in jail, the warden, it says in Scripture, the warden saw, that God showed favor on Joseph, that Joseph served God, that he was, someone different. And so even the warden put Joseph in charge of certain things, in jail, in the prison. So God, even though Joseph was going through these areas, God still blessed him and still, kept him. And I think that's important to see. I don't know how Joseph was feeling inward. It doesn't really give us that. But we do know that no matter what, Joseph was faithful. Okay. And in God's faithfulness, God blesses him because of that. So I think one of the most important and one of the most powerful lessons that we can learn from the life of Joseph was that he trusted God completely. Okay. Utterly, entirely, completely. And I think that's important, because when Jesus was here and he walked on the earth and he said certain things, one of the things he said, if you abide in me, then you will be my disciples. And the word abide is an action word. It actually means to remain. If you're remaining in me, okay, it's like to persevere. You go the distance. Okay. Joseph went the distance, up or down, good or bad, accused of something or not. He still went the distance. He still endured. He still persevered to the very end. And God blessed him through it all. And maybe he didn't see it as a blessing while he was in jail. Maybe he didn't see it as a blessing while he was being accused. or while he was a slave, but it didn't matter. He still persevered through the whole thing, and he completed God completely. I'm sorry. This is both a spiritual lesson we can learn, and it's a lesson in leadership. Um, I'm not sure if Joseph was born a leader, or if God just developed that as he was put in positions. I don't know. But we all seem to have leadership qualities. I mean, every woman who becomes a mother is a leader. I mean, just everyone, 100%. Every father who has children is a leader. So it doesn't matter what your position is in a church or in a job or company or whatever. Everybody has certain leadership capabilities. And as we grow and as we allow God to work with us and as we are faithful to him, God builds that. And I think that's really important. So through the 23 years in Egypt, before his brothers came, Joseph kept the faith and trusted God. And then through it all, God blessed and rewarded Joseph's faithfulness and his perseverance. So I think when we look at ourselves, and we really want to know, how are things going to go for us? How are things going for us? Where do we need to take the next step? Where is God? What is he doing? How can I learn whatever I'm going through? I think a good lesson to read is the lesson of Joseph. Because even though he was in positions and he was put in positions against his will, it was not his will that he be thrown into a pit by his brothers. It was not his will to be sold into slavery. It was not his will that he be put into prison for something he didn't do. None of this was his will. But through his faithfulness and through his perseverance, God blessed him and God rewarded him. And through Joseph's perseverance and faithfulness, God also blessed and rewarded, the nation of Israel, and protected both Israel and Egypt through the famine that came for the next 7 years after that. So do we want to be a blessing for God to other people? Do we want to be that which brings us to a point that we can say, God is my God, and I would not do anything to hurt him or disgrace him or go against him? And that's where Joseph was. And I think if we want to learn where we need to be, where we should be, where God would want us to be, I think we need to look at Joseph. Joseph was an immensely wise person. And I think that would really help us to understand where we are in our life if we really want to know what's going on with God and us. I think Joseph's an incredible story for us to learn from. And I just wanted to share that today and give you this bit of information so that you go on for the week. Anyway, everybody have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week, and aloha.